Click links to join channel here over at SubScribeStar. So this guy, first of all, there's a different social media environment. There's a different environment for the woke crowd because Elon Musk has Twitter. Elon Musk is friends with Trump, and Trump's the guy who just got elected. So Trump is not far right, but he's also not insane like Kamala and Biden. So if you're in this guy's shoes, Hansen's shoes, where you release some tweet that admits to federal law violations for anti-white racism, and all these YouTubers have you in their sights, that's not such a big deal. But Elon Musk is now paying attention to you, and he's pointing out that to Microsoft that what you're doing is actually illegal. And he's friends with Trump, and Trump, like I said, he's not far right wing, but you are going to have a different legal environment where for the left to say things in the past few years under Biden and Kamala, various justice departments, the state and federal level, we're just going to ignore them. The next few years are going to be a slight shiftward to the right. So this guy, when he saw that Elon tweet, is probably pooping his pants right now because he's on the precipice of a very steep drop. Oh, the other thing is people, the woke crowd left Twitter for Blue Sky because they wanted an echo chamber. Good enough. If the celebrities and politicians are not on a platform, well, the media won't be out on a platform. So Blue Sky is just going to be like a left-wing gab. But I don't think what they expected was the right wing or trolls followed them over to Blue Sky to just crap all over them. So they're over there. I don't know, it's all like Tumblr. Yeah, I guess it's like Tumblr from 2014 or something. So anyway, DEI is an interesting concept because you're not hiring on merit, so you're getting people to perform tasks who aren't as smart, experienced, or skilled by whatever metric. I mean, that's a weird thing to admit to. So the globalist argument under their fictional bullshit hierarchy is that, let's just stay politically correct here, and we'll just call these people slow mouth breathers, is that they're marginalized. That's the current buzzword: marginalized, oppressed, disenfranchised, other. And when those words burn out, they'll just think of new nonsense. Whatever their professors tell them, introduce to them, they're just all on board with. There's no pushback. There's no open marketplace of ideas and diversity of thought whatsoever, because those are microaggressions. Like due process under whatever concept, legal or like some Socratic scholarship method, those are problematic. Arriving at the truth is problematic. And there was some woman, the CEO chick, who's saying that the truth gets in the way of the narrative, and the lack of self-awareness of these people is effing staggering. So they have all these Frankfurt School buzzwords that they're in love with, but the left is, and the thing with these words is you can use them against them if you want to play the role by just referring to you and your groups as, marginalized. Whatever words they want to say, it's like you just have to, with a straight face, also identify it. Like, oh yeah, awesome, these marginalized and oppressed European people need to, and you watch the steam come out of their ears, because fundamentally at their core, they don't want to engage in any argument. They want to just be mad, and making them even madder is freaking awesome. So the left is saying that these people are stupid, which is awesome, because I mean they get so offended when I say it, but they're using the euphemism treadmill. So the new word takes on the underlying core of what they're trying to say. Marginalized is just going to mean incompetent diversity hire that's going to ruin your company. And if you look around, in so many examples, you freaking see it, which for video game companies is great because they're past the point of saving. They need to all burn to the ground. But when two 747s bump into each other because the ground crew are incompetent, that is not so cool. But it has to accelerate to failure and all the consequences that come along with it, because it can't be fixed. There is no other path than to just step on the gas, if it even can be fixed. And I suspect that ship has also sailed. So what happens is if the people at the top of some corporation, if they want woke hiring practices, it's going to happen. There is nothing you can do except move on, because you want to leave the company before it goes downhill, and you don't want that reputation to taint you. You want to get out and get into something else before it goes hard woke, and it will. Like in this company, where there is a space For pronouns, you're not forced to use them, but if you don't, you might as well just start looking for something else because it's going to be a human resources controlled hostile work environment. The other funny option is to double down with all this kind of stuff. Use the opposite sex's pronoun and just come out as trans. You can start cross dressing, have some fun with it, refer to yourself as a member of the oppressed class of marginalized and oppressed and disenfranchised folks with an X of the two spirit transferee otherkins. It doesn't matter if it's aircraft control or video games, the product or service is downstream from the people and work or creative environment. This is fundamental. Honey bees make honey. If you substitute something else, you get not honey. Making good games is hard enough. It becomes impossible if the company goes the sweet baby black girl gamers pathway. To make good games, you need guys who are, tech game people. They're really good at games, or they really enjoy games, and they're really good at computers and math and solving puzzles and that kind of things. That's the top of the hierarchy. And then they just need comfortable workplace, which kind of sums up to comfortable chairs and fresh coffee, at least to get started. I mean, people get started in garages and whatnot. But like these companies that get started in garages, as a fair amount do, it's like when you look at them, oh, they're all guys of usually one group. Anyway, so when woke comes to town, and then when you look at the company 10 years later, it's like 60% obese 28-year-old Heather Antos type of chicks. So when woke comes to town, it becomes, or Alyssa Mercante or all these other kind of, it becomes all about woke buzzwords and landmines that people don't understand. These new rules to protect the current illusions. If you're going to get called into human resources for using the biologically correct pronouns, then one day, then the day that you get the memo about all this kind of these new woke, a memo from human resources about something about pronouns, well, that's the day you just quit. You tell them that you're going to work on somebody else's project and it's been an enriching experience, but you want to quit on good terms. So this blue-haired cat lady HR woman was introduced to the office and like 3 people quit. Yeah, that would just be the bad. Like, oh no, it's just coincidence. Just no, we got this other project that we're going into. It's to be announced. They're keeping it on the download now, so I can't tell you the name or anything about it. But yeah, it's just coincidence. We're just just all kind of came together. And no. Iron Box over here had nothing to do with it. Because all this pronoun stuff isn't real. It's a fad that it's an illusion that they use to exert control over people. It's compelled speech. They're trying to force people to lie. And yes, there are all kinds of passive aggressive things you can do at work to stay within the letter of the law. Like I said, if you're a male, use female pronouns. But when referring to someone else who's using the wrong biological pronouns, don't use them. Just use the person's first name, or some people are who don't want to play the game, they refer to them as their esteemed colleagues, this kind of stuff, where it's obvious what you're doing, but you're staying within the letter of the law. And if you really want to F with these people, you can do it on several levels, but you have to do everything with a deadpan straight face, where you get in character and you stay in it. But not everyone is weird like me. Most of these tech geeks just want to get a coffee, start making games. They don't understand all this nonsense. They're willing to concede a little bit to some of these kind of weird things if it's just a little bit and the pay is good, and otherwise HR stays out of their hair. But deep down, they know it's nonsense because obviously it is. All the woke stuff is energy that should be going into making games, or more importantly, running things like airports or sanitation departments of cities. So the good people slowly leave, or they get fired for being stubborn, and the company goes into this woke echo chamber death spiral. These people are woke. It's their core programming. It's their religion. They're not going to learn a lesson from the Suicide Squad video game losing $200 million. I think the movies also lost money because were they bad? The first one was bad. The second one wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It wasn't anything. It was just very carefully not offensive, where a bunch of people get together and do things. And I guess there was a little bit of the energy of the women didn't need any help. It just wasn't, there was nothing to it. I suspect it probably did lose money. in their minds, if you're not on board with woke, then you're the issue, the customer, the paying customer who's choosing not to pay for this stuff recently, and that you need to be exposed to more propaganda. And for a long time, as long as they're getting Larry Fink's BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard's type of investments, they didn't really like. There was a line back in diversity in comics days where somebody somebody in mainstream comics was saying they don't sell comics to the customer, they sell it to like a store or something. And you look at that, and you're like, wait, you know what? Like a child would look at that argument and go, but the store buys it to resell to the customer, dude. It's just a chain of causation. You can't the chain doesn't stop at the store. Why would they? It's not in a vacuum where they buy these comics and put them on the shelves. The customer's the end part of the contract. The store just facilitates it. And I don't know if the SJWs are being purposely disingenuous or obstinate or what, but it's that kind of mental illness that causes, well, it causes the things you see, stores to close because the stores are closing just in a vacuum. Well, no, because the underlying product is dog shit with just woke propaganda. Oh, no. Come on. It's got to be something else other than the clear and obvious answer. Anyway, so this idiot, this Hansen guy, has some insane quote about not wanting to hire men of European descent, which, of course, is, unfortunately for him, illegal. And he says he wants nons to replace all the old crusty white guys like himself so he can go retire in the woods. Except what do the people of European descent do who are not independently wealthy? They can't afford to retire on a farm, or the men who want to get into gaming and now they realize that they won't be treated fairly. They literally won't be hired because if they're of European descent. That's what diversity hiring means, that you're not hiring the most qualified people unless they learn to play the game, identify as black and Latin or something, a member of the BLT community, trans, all that kind of stuff, which is a lot of fun. But what's going on in the West now is the bullshies have essentially won because nobody is fighting back. They've created this fictional model and it has rules, but it's not none of it is of course real. By pretending it's real leads to crap, which you're seeing with these failing woke movies and games, or the same kind of diversity at the peak of the hierarchy in industries like airports or Boeing. Boeing's a good example. I mean, you're clearly seeing the consequences of these Marxist belief systems. It's like, didn't you learn your lesson circa 1989 for other countries? Like, no, we're gonna try it again, but like double down. So the point of this story is he's openly talking about illegal hiring practices, and his company practices anti-white racism and federal civil rights violations there. And will there be legal consequences? There might be, because Elon Musk is shining his laser onto this situation, as well as a bunch of these. Well, the YouTubers are, and the Twitter. There's this Twitter gang who are kind of the anti-woke video game things. They focus on this kind of stuff, but they bring the attention to Elon Musk. Now Elon Musk is focusing on it and openly saying this guy is violating federal law, and he's tied in with Microsoft. And this is, like I said, this is a different environment than it was a few years ago because the country elected Trump. Like, they pretty well, he said it's like too big to rig or something. It does feel like that might have been related, where and just like the Biden Kamala was such a bad combination that I think the left looked at that and go, she's just the worst option. But the legal environment for the next few years is going to be different than if Kamala had won, because you have a state and federal justice departments who would let things slide. Well, it's probably at the federal level, because the states, if they're run by a woke governor, are still going to let things slide. But at the federal level, things are going to be different. A little bit. I mean, Trump's not, no, I mean, just like the left-wing straw man of Trump is so effing bizarre. But he is, of course, further right than Kamala. That's obviously. So this Matt Hansen guy saying things like this that are violations of federal law, and you have Elon Musk who's bringing attention to this and bringing in Microsoft, and he's buddies with Trump. This Matt Hansen guy is probably looking for the next flight to probably looking to go to Mars or something. He realizes he's in the deepest of deep trouble because it's not just that he's poisoned to a company from now on, is that there might actually be legal consequences for the things he said. So who knows? But what we can do at our end is to bring attention to this anti European racism and do our best to destroy, dismantle, and deconstruct these people. Nowhere should be safe for them to sell their hatred and intolerance. They should feel the pressure of what they're putting out into the universe. So there's a bunch of articles because this guy had this blue sky tweet, and it's like, when something goes viral, it goes outside your circle. And that's what happened with him, to the point of where now you've got somebody who's connected to Trump, who's now has you under his sights. Yeah, you're in the deepest of deep waters here. But he says that woke is their religion. They need something to believe in. They need a windmill to tilt against. And when this stuff comes into a situation where business is getting more woke, there is no dissent allowed whatsoever. And nature abhors a vacuum, and I think there's a part of the human psyche that abhors a spiritual vacuum as well. If you don't have a belief system, some kind of like Christianity, ethno-nationalism, pagan, you have to, or what do like some of the Asians do? It's like ancestor reverence. It's not worship, because that implies deities. Where some of them don't really believe in deities, but they have an ancestral. I guess that's kind of an ethno-nationalist type of ancestor reverence type of thing. But you have to have some kind of core, and the left wing doesn't. So they latch on to this globalism, which is an even lamer version of Marxism. So they frame everything as a conclusion, where they believe in these Frankfurt School concepts of some races or sexualities are tagged with these modifying terms like marginalized, so they don't have to argue the underlying argument as much. So they have these modifying systems in place to help them. The goal is to use social media and emotional manipulation instead of logic and reason. They want you to take part in their imaginary world, and you can ignore reality, but not the consequences for it. You can get a bunch of woke to all agree in theory that a group is marginalized, and that marginalized people need representation, and people should go support them. People in theory, but then when offered the chance to go watch some woke movies that does everything they claim to support, they respectfully decline the offer of hopping in a car for a 90-minute movie and paying for the movie and the popcorn, or watching the streaming show. They just don't turn out for it because what they're saying is a lie. They're saying one thing that they don't believe, because they're doing something else, and the numbers for these movies are crystally clear. That's not a word or a phrase. They're describing what is going on. These people are saying one thing, and then Hollywood's looking at these movies and go, what's going on? These movies, everything, these companies are losing hundreds of millions of dollars, and the industry in general is losing billions of dollars. But then you get on social media, and it seems so left-wing that this is exactly what they want. Some more blonde man, bad types of movies and girl power. And of course, it's not selling. I mean, you're watching, people are not watching movies anymore. They're watching, I don't know, they're paying attention to the movie industry just to see what Hollywood spends $200 million on, and then nobody goes to see it. And you've seen so many examples over the past just a couple years, at least during the Wu flu years, I've been really interested. That's what virtue signaling is, where SJWs like to get a dopamine boost by being on social media and saying they support something. But normal people don't understand that level of virtue signaling. You really have to kind of pay attention, like do videos like this, and you really pay attention to the left in a different way. Like when I first got on YouTube, and that Diversity in Comics was talking about the comic industry, and I started looking into it, and it was like a window into a mental asylum. It was a madhouse of insane people where insanity was just accepted, where they were laying on their back, taking pictures of their body parts and sending that to EVS, or people dressed up as something they're not, and then threatening to delete a YouTuber, the spouse, the kids, because the YouTuber was criticizing them. I forget that guy's name. Absolutely nuts. Like, so you want to mention somebody's kids over somebody criticizing a comic? These people are crazy, and the mainstream comic industry never disavowed them. It's like, remember that pencils down moment? So SJWs, they're crazy. They virtue signal because it's free. On social media, it's free to say you'll support the hell out of these things. Shut up and take my money for some new video game or whatever movie, and it just doesn't materialize. That all the things they want, and then you go on Steam and you look at the numbers, and you know, Suicide Squad or Concord or Dustborn, and a bunch of other examples of these games losing massive amounts of money, and the same for the woke movies. People understand a little exaggeration, but not the level of the SJWs at Martha's Vineyards level of delusion, where they're waving bye-bye to their guests who'd been there a day and a half. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.